Yeah, we'll get started in a second, y'all. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get going, and we'll go start with what I wanted to talk about here in the Discord, the weekly alerts first, and then I'll move to actually going through some of the charts that I've done on my watch list, and then we'll do some of the charting that some folks have asked me to do via like Twitter and in the Discord and whatnot. So that's usually the agenda. Try to keep it simple, about an hour, all said and done. That way, we don't have to sit here and use our whole day. So to start with, what I am looking at on the weekly setups in the Discord that the bots spit out at the end of the day on Friday, a lot of these failed twos. Why? Well, things just didn't look great at the end of the week. We got some nice movement at the beginning, and then it kind of all stalled. So we'll go over the charts and explain that. But when we start looking at a lot of these failed twos and the reasons why they failed, I think that we're going to see a lot of the same consistency when it comes to the reasons why. But where they're going to go, I think we're also going to see a lot of consistency there too. So yeah, failed twos definitely have my attention. When I'm looking at failed twos to start the week, I'm going to be looking at things with cheaper options because again, I like to pretty much start each week with a small account. To see where I can take it. It's kind of a game. I've turned it into a game for myself, but that's really what I like to do. So take $250, take $500, see if I can turn it into 1,000, or see if I can turn it to 1,500. And a key part of that is being able to build the capital that I want to be able to trade the bigger, more expensive things towards the end of the week when the option contracts are cheaper, like Facebook, Microsoft, stuff like that. So the key point is to take those cheaper contracts, Monday, Tuesday, and probably Wednesday. And what do I mean by cheaper contracts? I mean tickers with names like American Airlines. They have cheap weekly contracts. They're very liquid. AMC, Bank of America, CLF, of Ford, GM. A lot of these are just, if a contract's under, let's say, $70, I like it for, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But that usually ends up being a stock that's on the Dow, like the DIA, the diamonds. So yeah, so anyway, that's failed twos. Those have my attention. And then we have 3-1, which is Square. That's all right, I guess. I don't really trade Square much. But 3-1 setup's always an interesting one just based on magnitude. So we'll take a quick look at that. We have a 2-1 setup. So the idea here, depending on the one, is that we're either going to have a 2 up would be likely a green. So a green 2 and then a 1. So let's see what that 1 looks like to see if we might be getting reversals to the downside. Like do these, the 2 up and then 1 red turn to a downside. So a 2-1-2 reversal. And then we just have some continuations. That is pretty much the cool setups that we got for the week there. So, all right, moving over to charting. So I'm doing YouTube live today instead of going back and editing the video. So if you're sitting here in the Discord with me, I'm gonna just go ahead and pre-apologize for the fact that my windows are all sorts of different sizes and wonky looking. But you can bear with me. Okay, so let's start with the outlook on SPY. So SPY in the monthly, right now, we are trapped on an inside month. I have alerts, and this is what I typically do. I have alerts on my monthly low and my monthly high. That way, no matter where I'm at, if we get like a 2 up on the month, that's interesting to me, especially if it's early on in the month, because then we have some pretty solid magnitude. Over 429.66 up to this 457.83 area. Oops, delete that. I wanted to remove it. I'm just trying to minimize the amount of lines I actually have on my chart. And then we have the low down here under 380.54. So a lot of time, a lot of dollars in the way here to get down back to 380. Not saying it can't be done. But if we sit here and move out of SPY, zoom out here on the month, we have the previous month was a pretty solid fail too, but it's a doji, so definitely indecision. Let's see what this next week holds, and if we start moving back to the downside, we definitely could be looking and testing the previous month lows again. All right, so that's the month. Now let's move over to the week, which is over here on the right side. So I'll zoom in a little bit more. The broadening formation that I have drawn here, that's on the daily. So anyway, what we have down is all the way down to that 380 area. That is our month low. Now that was a 3-bar. We pivoted back up pretty strong the previous week, the last week of May. Now, this past week was a failed 2 up. So sentiment for SPY going into next week would be a 2 down. So I'm going to have a bearish bias, right? So, this previous candle price action is kind of telling us that we're looking at downside move. Oh, nice. There's stereo sound on YouTube. Cool. No idea. And I guess I'll start. If we like the YouTube, live stuff, I'll just start doing that when I go through and do this. I figured I'd try it out, and I hope you all got your coffee. Okay. Anyway, so the bias for me is going to be bearish. Now, again, just like I did with the monthly alerts, I have an alert here for the nice thing is Thinkorswim just recently added this feature where you could take a drawing like a line or a trend line or something and actually say create an alert based off it. I know like TradingView has had that forever, but people with money don't like to do things with cool features. So anyway, finally get this feature. That's awesome. So anyway, once we cross below, go 2 down on the week. SPY has my attention. Why? Well, look at the magnitude all the way down. The price target after it crosses 406.93 moves all the way down to 386.96. That would be our price target. That is a substantial move to the downside. So yeah, that's my bias with SPY. So if we move to the day, then we got trapped on Friday with an inside day. Sorry, reading comments. So we get trapped with an inside day on Friday. So it's a 2-1. We're looking at like a 2-1-2 up or 2-1-2 down. Probably is my bias. Now, what I'm going to want to see, you do have a pretty. If you take a look at the trigger, the 2-1-2 down trigger 4951. The price target, the first price target would be the low of the previous 2 bar here, right? And that just turns out to be also the week low as well, almost the week low, I should say, as well. So that's 406.93. $3, $2.50 move-ish, dollar amount or so. Not great. So what I'd probably again be looking at, and the reason why I set my alert to that weekly low is the move from 406.93 down to like let's say 400. 400 is a nice round number. That does have some previous support, especially when we, zoom out and, look at that area, the 400 area. Just everything's kind of come back up, pop back down, goes through. So that's SPY. Bearish sentiment on SPY. Let me adjust these little windows here because for some reason it messes with my. There we go. QQQ. What's sentiment on QQQ? Well, let's see. Again, inside month. We're trapped on that inside month still. So we got our monthly target to the top side, or the reversal to the top side, the 2-2 reversal, and then we just have a plain old 2 down. Let me go ahead and edit that right there, make it blue. Try to color code my stuff for my sanity. All right, so now very similar to SPY, right? We have a failed 2. Now this one looks more like a shooter. It does have a kind of a lower side wick to almost take the shooter characteristic out of it, but the downside there again, I mean, this is what you look for. What I look for when I'm looking at failed 2s, right? I want to see a shooter type candle with downside pressure. So yeah, again below. Let's go ahead and set an alert. Crosses below, so this is going to be QQQ 2 down weekly. All right, so we crossed below 303.40. The move all the way down to here's your weekly price target of 282.25. Wow. So that's again a pretty substantial move. And what ends up happening, right, is all of tech suffers at this point. Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, the big names, stuff like that, they all end up suffering too. So I mean that's they're all tied together. All right, so broadening formation, did it on the daily. That's usually how I draw my broadening formations. Just pivot high to. I just did this 3-bar here from Thursday of last week. Now why? Well, I look at charts and people that have their broadening formations like all the way up here. That's cool. It might eventually get tapped, but keep in mind, broadening formations, all they're doing is eventually expanding range, right? So I mean, this could be a broadening formation here too, and we kind of come back down through it, but pop through and so on and so forth. So broadening formations are everywhere when you look at a chart. So it's really all up to you how you want to draw them. I like to connect more recent, lows to lower lows and more recent highs to higher highs. I really try to avoid having, a line out there like this. While it might come back in. Oh, dang. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, see, this is the stuff that I totally, yep, my bad, y'all. So is that fixed, Oman? Yeah, sorry. Again, first time on YouTube Live doing this, so I just realized I left the Discord channel up in front of all the charts for everybody on there. My bad. Okay, cool. All right, so sorry, folks. All right, so now let me pop that back on right quick to see what you're able to. Okay, well, you at least saw the weekly bias for SPY and QQQ. The monthly looked a lot of very similar to. I'll pop back to the monthly right quick here. So here's the monthly. We did have that failed 2 down the previous month, but we're still on an inside month. So all I was really talking about is the levels, which you can see over here as well. So not a ton going on there. That's very different than what we have here with QQQ. So anyway, again, back to the broadening formation thing. I just don't see the point of having a line like this, out there, because then when I look at a larger time frame, I just have crazy lines everywhere, and Yeah. So yeah, it might come back and use that at one point. It will probably, because that's usually how Browning formations work in the long run. But yeah, I don't like that clutter sitting around. That's just me. Okay, so that's SPY. That's QQQ. Our sentiment is bearish. So let's take a look at some of the cheap things that I want to start trading come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So the first one on the list is American Airlines. This is my weekly watch list, by the way. This is pretty much what I always watch. The tickers sitting over here that you actually can't see in YouTube, but we're gonna go over each one of them. My list is like 10 or so. These are the tickers I always trade. I rarely deviate from trading these. Why? Well, I know how they move. So, all right, starting with American Airlines, we're going to go quick. We had a 2 and a 1. So this is our month right now. We still have a 2-1 month. Now, we do have downside. The trigger to go 2 down on the month is $15.09. Now, I have an alert set there, but I'm going to be watching that $15 level. Why? Well, if we take a look around back in December, January, I guess it was, we did kind of wick down a little bit past that $15 mark, and then we came right back up. So $15 area is a pretty strong area with American Airlines. So I want to see it past that, drop, and then come down further, because the $13 area becomes a very strong point with American Airlines after that. All right, so 2-1 on the month right now, looking for that 2 down movement. Now, we do have a daily low and a weekly low at the same level at $16.09. So that's a simultaneous trigger, and that's always pretty strong to me. That they've worked really well when it comes to how they move after that, right? When you have multiple things simultaneously triggering the same thing, that just levels of confluence to me. So they move a lot quicker at that point. Now it might come back in and test, and that's typically what will end up happening. So you'll kind of see it come down and then drop down and then come back up. But the multiple levels of confluence on those triggers, that just to me it's always been a pretty decent move, even if it's for a quick minute or two, or a day, whatever. So anyway, down to the day. So again, the trigger to go 2 down on the day is 1609. Now this really isn't an actionable setup, right? Like on the daily. So that's why I'm looking at the weekly. Again, the 2-2 reversal is an actionable setup. So otherwise, you're just looking at a 2 down continuation on the daily. I have a 4-hour chart up in case you're more curious about what it looks like. But really, if I'm going to be trying to even do much, I'm looking at more like a 30-minute chart during the day, or a 15-minute chart. So yeah. All right. So we'll leave 15-minute up. Why not? So, okay, that's American Airlines. Sentiment is bearish. Again, weekly, we had a failed 2, and it really didn't find a lot of buying support to bring it back up any. So, I mean, this real body of the candle is pretty, bearish to me, substantially downside. So that trigger, 1609, let's go down, see where it goes. All right, next one, Apple. So Apple is gonna look a lot like SPY. It usually does, and SPY looks a lot like Apple. So see, I got these lines. Let me remove these lines. I also don't like icons on my desktop. Okay, so 2-1 on the month. So we're still on an inside month. Failed 2, go figure. Real body, small wick on the downside, so didn't really have a lot of buying pressure, bring it back up. Now this is cool. Look at this on the weekly. This is a 122 rev strat potential. So there's the 1 bar. There's a failed 2, indicating that we're likely going to be getting a 2 down. Like, this is what I love to see. This failed 2 down. Okay, and especially in a shooter type setup here. Okay, so below, again, 144.46, weekly and daily triggers are the same. We're moving all the way down to 137.14 for the price target there. I'm sorry, I put that price target in the wrong spot. That is going to be an area of support, I should say, but the actual price target for the rev strat is going to be the low of the 2 bar here. So all the way down to the monthly trigger. And at that point, why would you even sell? If it makes it all the way down there, you should be in some hefty profit. And I would probably trim some options and then set a nice tight stop loss, because after that, goodness gracious, your next price target is going to be on the monthly all the way down at like 122.96 ish. So, yeah, that's quite a drop. Okay. So again, sentiment with Apple, bearish. What do we have on the daily? Nothing fun, just another 2 down. So we do trigger that. We do trigger the weekly on the downside, which is the rev strat. That's the actionable setup. So again, I'd be looking at your targets down here at that 132 or 137 ish area to start trimming some of your contracts that you have. Notice the level of support that it kind of has around this area too. Right here, we have kind of everything in the same general area. So you are going to find some substantial support sitting here. It's not like it's likely not going to drop right through. That's what I'm saying. Or if it does drop right through, it's going to come back up, probably retest, and then drop again. All right, next, AMD. So Apple is something I look at trading on, Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays. That those are, just because it's tech, the option contracts get more expensive. I like to play at the money on Friday, just, get the quick move, and be in the money quicker. So AMD is another one of those Wednesday, Thursday, Friday type stock. I do like trading AMD and MU, which is on my list. So we'll go over those in a few seconds here. But AMD's right now. So, whoa, what do we got here? AMD is a 2 up on the month. So we had a failed 2 down, a nice green failed 2 down, and a 2 up on the month. We had a 2 up on the week. Wow. Now, what the heck is going on? Why is AMD moving up and everything else is not? That's always an interesting question, and I wish I had an answer for you. But the fact of the matter is, I don't care. I'm going off what I see on a chart. Okay, so what do we have here? Well, on the daily, we have a 2-1. So the trigger is, wow, did I? Oh, month. Okay. So I was sitting here like, why is my month all the way over here? Okay, so the trigger on the weekly is going to be, to the downside, it would be 99.55, and that would make it a 122 rev strat as well, just like Apple. But I mean, the sentiment on this candle is very bullish. I don't necessarily see anything that would tell me that I need to go switch my sentiment to bearish right now. Now that's not to say that I wouldn't be playing puts here and there. I play based on my dailies. Go over the weekly though to just be able to kind of get a general sentiment. But yeah, so we have a 2-1 on the daily, potential 122 rev strat on the weekly. And then just plain old 2 up if we go past 109.39. Now, the one thing that makes me think that we're going to be dealing with some more bearish activity is this one, the candle on Friday here. It's a 1, so it's a consolidation candle, but look at the downside. I mean, this is a shooterish type candle with the real body to the downside, meaning the sellers thought 109.39 was high enough and decided to kind of bring it back down, right? So you can kind of see that here. Actually, it all kind of happened at the beginning of the day on Friday, and then we just leveled out. So, as far as sentiment goes, with a 1 bar, I don't have a bearish or biased sentiment right now as to what it's going to do on Monday. But tell you what, this guy, the 2 up, out of the ordinary for everything else. So I'm still relatively bullish on AMD, but again, I think I traded just as many puts last week as I did calls. So, all right, that's AMD. Now, Bank of America, this is one that we trade early on in the week with the small account. So what we have on the month, the 2-1 month, still failed 2 up. Now that has little buying pressure on the downside. So I would definitely have my sentiment to the bearish side. Weekly. So the 2-2 rev week with our price target being $34.66. So underneath, let's see over here, 36.07 to 34.66. That's going to be our price target. Very bearish sentiment. It's crazy when you think about, interest rates going up and stuff like that, though. But hey, again, I trade what I see, not what I hear. So then what we got on the daily is a 2-1, pretty solid red candle, even though it was a consolidation candle. We're looking at the trigger under 36.13. So, I mean, at this point, if we trigger on Monday with all the weekly triggers, I'd be looking at the downside moves very quickly. So you'll have some levels of support sitting here around the 35, 30, 35 even area. But really that 34.66 area would be my price target. Cruise lines. Everything's still pretty much one inside on the month. So unless we see something crazy, I'm just going to start leaving the monthly alone. But all right, so cruise lines failed 2 up. Not really a shooter candle. So, well, I guess we'll see what happens. Definitely kind of finished with the real body on the inside, not a doji, just because the real body's too big, but definitely has some, downside potential, bearish downside potential still here. So let's go ahead and remove that one and make a new one here. Okay, so downside underneath 13.15, that would be our trigger. I actually have an alert set there because I like this move. If it fails the 13.15 area for a 2-2 reversal, our price target's all the way down here at the monthly low as well to create a 2-down month. So then we have then we have a new trigger that we can kind of roll into, and wow, okay, well, what do we do from there? Go down further. Clearly what ends up happening. So let's see. The next area looks... I don't know what these lines are. Those are going to be the... I mean, the next area after that's going to be $11 even. So what's the low of this candle? 11.56. So yeah. We break 11.56, go to $11, and then the next area that has some support on the monthly is going to be the $7.80 mark. So could be a lot of downward movement here when it comes to CCL. So okay, going to the daily, we have a 1-2 now. Do we potentially have a 1-2-2 reversal? I don't know. Probably not. Not with a bearish sentiment. I mean, we'd be looking for... I'd be wanting to see this as a failed 2 down candle to be giving me, reversal vibes. So it's not. If anything, it's going to turn into just a 1-2-2 continuation, which is actually nothing. Just a 2-2 continuation. But if it does reverse, we have a 1-2-2 rev strat on the daily. Okay, Draftkings. Man, I talk about Draftkings all the time, and I think I've traded it like 3 times lately, and it bothers me because the moves are just crazy lately. I don't know, and I also don't know why it doesn't paint my numbers on my candles, just specifically for Draftkings. Anyway, so let's zoom in here because I can't see. Okay, so we have it, as with everything, an inside month, and I said I wasn't going to talk about that until it changed, so moving on. We had a 2 down week after some interesting moves to the upside. I mean, this candle right here straight up told us we were coming back to the upside. That's one of the things I love about strat when you understand the candles. But the downside move happened. Now we're going to be looking at a weekly and a daily trigger under 12.64. The next price target is shallow. $12.40. So I'm not going to be doing a darn thing until we surpass the price target for the weekly, and then we can start moving down to the monthly of $9.77. The crazy thing is I don't understand why DraftKings is doing bad. Again, I really don't care, but when I start thinking about things like, sports betting is getting so much traction, and states are voting for it and stuff like that, I don't get why this is happening for DraftKings. But again, I trade what I see, not what I hear or know. All right, so daily, we're just looking at the 2 down move, but gosh, y'all, look at, let me set an alert. I want an alert on that now. All right. So once we get down below 1240, that's when I'm looking to get in. That's what I want to see. All right, next, Facebook. Draftkings also, they have cheap options. So that's my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday trades. So next on the list is Facebook. Now, we've had a double inside month on Facebook. So I know it's an inside month, but we have a double one, so I'm going to talk about it. So we had a 3 in April, a 1 in May, and now we still have a 1 going on right now in our current month of June. So, man, consolidation is going crazy here. So it's always interesting to me why, what's going on with Facebook. It just doesn't know where it wants to go. Didn't have great earnings a while back. Just, kind of sitting here nice and low. So anyway, what are we doing? So our running formation failed 2 down week or 2 up week, but some buyers came in. It found some support at 185. Right at 185, it found some support, and buyers stepped in and started, snatching it up. So 185 is clearly going to be a key level here. You can also see it over here back in early May, 185 area snapped it back up. Now that, interestingly enough, did not end up changing much of the sentiment. It did take it 2 up on that week, but blah. Now same thing, right? Like comes down to 176 down here. Some buyers start snatching things up, but it doesn't change the overall sentiment. It still goes 2 up and then comes right back down as the previous week. So what are we in store for? Another hammer candle? That'll be interesting. Big old drop and then a hammer candle. If Facebook finishes with a hammer candle, that's going to be crazy. And we got a pattern there. All right, so sentiment, well, bearish. So what do we have on the daily? A 2-1. So our trigger for the downside play, 189.78. And first price target of 187.73. Now, I'm not trading Facebook on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. I never do. In fact, I rarely trade on Thursday. Facebook is my quick in and out on a Friday, just because it moves very quickly at open in a lot of times. So, quick in and quick out. So honestly, I don't even care what it's doing on the daily right now. I'm more curious about the weekly and if it's going to hit my trigger to even potentially look at a trade for Friday. All right, Browning formation. Let's make a more realistic one right quick. That one's pretty far out, so. I don't have a pivot. All right, so that'd probably be my more current one. I'll leave the other one up there because Facebook can actually move. All right, Microsoft. Next one, again, I really only trade Microsoft on like Thursday and Friday. I want to actually show you why. Again, let's take a look at the June contract. So if I were to start my week with $500 on Monday, which, like I said, is what I do on a typical basis, I like to play at the money contracts because honestly, like while I look at price targets and stuff, I don't really like to gamble. Say I think Microsoft's going to get down to or get close to or move towards 260, let's say, just because of volatility and everything, right? Like I mean, you have things oscillate, so I like to play at the money or very near the money. So if I had $500 and I wanted to trade some puts right quick on Microsoft on Monday, I'd be looking at paying around, I mean, these prices are going to adjust, but I'd be looking at paying around $200 and let's say $50. Pardon me. $250. That's half of my account. I've just put out half of my account in one trade for one contract. Now, I'm not risking $250, but I have to spend $250. I'm only going to risk, all said and done, let's say $25 to $30 of that. Just based on setting a stop loss. So with a cash account though, with $500, that's what I use a cash account so I don't have to worry about day trading rules. With $500, spending $250 means I only have $250 more dollars to spend that day. If I stay in this trade, then I have, if I stay in the trade and, swing it, let's say, then I can sell it tomorrow and I can get that cash. But if I'm in and out of this trade in one day, I only have that $250 left for the day as far as buying power goes. So I avoid stuff like that because that means I pretty much, I mean, the strat helps me greatly, right? It helps us greatly when it comes to determining which way a play is going to go. But in the scheme of things, if you're putting up 50% of your potential account, like the probability of success for that day is not going to be that great because you just don't have, I mean, like you have to be right. That's essentially what that means. So anyway, when you look at something like Draftkings, let's go back to that right quick. Look at these. Okay, I can go get 10 contracts of the $12 put, or I can go get a bunch of contracts. Let's say I want to get 5 contracts of the 1250 puts. Now that gives me a lot more. That gives me a lot more movement, breathing room. I mean, it's still going to cost me, $250 in this case, but I don't have to spend that, right? I'll usually get 1 or 2 contracts, so I'll spend $100, and then when it moves down to 1250 and I get 20% up, because these move quickly, right? 20% up is just basically $10 for you. But when it moves 20% up, I can trim a contract or 2, and then I can tighten my stop loss. And then when it moves further and I'm in the money, I can sell more, or I can tighten my stop loss more. So that's really why I like to trade these cheaper contracts on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. Just gives me more ability to do more trades. Okay, back to charts, back to Microsoft, what we were looking at. Okay, so that was a failed 2 up. A lot of kind of internal struggle here, not really knowing which way it wants to go. Almost doji-ish, but not. So daily, we're looking at 2-1. The trigger for the daily on the downside is going to be 268.41 for a move down to the weekly trigger, which was going to be then a 2-2 reversal at 261.60, which then would take us all the way down to the weekly price target of 253.43. So this is the area that I'm looking at. Again, Thursday, Friday is when I'm going to start looking at Microsoft if it presents an actionable setup. But that is the key area here, this weekly reversal. Okay, moving on. MU, another stock I like to trade a lot. And the nice thing is it's a tech stock, but the contracts are actually cheap, especially at the money contract. Like, this is crazy to me, and it moves. The spreads get kind of crazy and wonky first thing in the morning, but it normalizes pretty quick. In fact, this is pretty much one I traded all week last week, and it did me right. So what do we have? Well, we had a 2-up month already, right? We've already went 2-up on the month, but it's a failed 2-up already. So moving on to the week, we have a failed 2-up on the week. Weekly 2-2 reversal trigger would be $69.11, which is also the daily trigger. If we come down here with this, was a kicking bear. Kicking bear means that we just, gap down and didn't recover it. So there's our gap that we saw on the daily. Boom, that little guy. So what are we going to do? Well, it's funny because I actually said MU was the top of my list on Friday. I didn't expect it to actually do a kicking bear, but whatever. I just figured it was going to go 2 down because this was a pivot machine gun setup. Boom, boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what is a pivot machine gun? Don't mind this candle here. Pivot machine gun means that we have an upside move with 5 or more. I say this backwards all the time. 5 or more higher lows. There we go. So here's a low, here's a higher low, higher low, higher low, higher. So the idea here is that you take out a bunch of stops all at once. Well, I mean, look at this. It took out everybody's stop pre-market and just opened right here and then dropped more. That ended up being a strong, like 300-400% play. Put it in the Discord, so hopefully some of you were able to do that and get in on that price action Anyway, so remove that guy. So, all right, what are we looking at? Again, sentiment tells us bearish. I'm still feeling bearish. And again, the price target, the trigger is going to be underneath 69.11 for a move to 66.35. That takes us down to the monthly trigger then, which at that point, oh yeah, that's another good point. Where's that little, I made this 50% thing. Let's put it on the monthly here. Apply, go. Look at this. We've already gone 50% on the month. Forgot about that. So the likelihood of this going 3, which means outside month, which means hitting our price target of 65.87, is highly likely. So MU definitely is the top of my list of things to trade this coming week. This is why I like doing this charting, because I basically talk myself into doing something that I didn't necessarily think about. Okay, so anyway, I did think about MU though. It's, like I said, one of my favorite tickers to trade. All right, so MU definitely high on my list of things to trade. Next one on the ticker or on my list is NEO. Now NEO has been bucking the trend. Very interesting. So a lot of down. We had a failed 2 down month, which pretty much a hammer candle right now, or it was, and then turned into a hammer candle. And then we have this currently, this last month, we went 2 up on the month already. So what's going on here? Let's move to the weekly. We went 2 up on the week. Look at that hammer, that previous week hammer. That's strong. So kind of told us we should be looking at some upside movement. So here's the upside movement that we got this coming week. It's always cool to be able to look at these charts in like hindsight and say, well, damn, I wish, I trusted that candle more. Here you are. So pretty much a doji. I mean, it's not a failed 2 up, which is awesome. It's just straight up a 2 up, but does look like, buyers and sellers were at war here. I mean, this is straight up like an indecision 2 to me, which is a thing in my book. Okay, so what do we have? Well, the downside trigger is going to be a 2-2 reversal at $16.76. The upside is going to be at $18.93. So I actually am feeling pretty bullish with NEO. So I have an alert set here at the weekly trigger 2 up. And then you're going to start looking at price targets around the $20 range, and then the $20.50 range. So that's going to be NEO. Now, if it decides to do what everything else in the market is doing with, and go against what the candles are telling us, which let's hope it doesn't do that, because then everything we know is out the window. Well, then we're going to be looking at trigger under 1676 for a move down to 1409. So the only reason that I say anything about the downside is when you look at the daily. Just scroll out here. When you look at the daily here, NEO's gotten these moves where it drops, and then it drops. It meets a level of resistance and then drops really hard. So if we're looking at patterns here, are we at one of those levels right now where it doesn't seem to be able to get the steam that it wants to kind of push through a particular area, and then it drops hard? That's my only concern right now with NEO, just because, look what we have here. This is a shooter, right? Like, if I were going to get into, if I look back at the end of the day on 6-1, I would have said NEO's going down. Well, everybody else had different plans, right? We get a failed 2 down. It did go down, but it went green quick, right? Buyers came in and said, no, I like this level. And they started snatching things up. But then the next day, just because of so much buying power, so much buying pressure, it had to breathe. So that's why we got the consolidation candle. Now, is this breathing here indicating a potential move to the downside? Because it did get bought up basically to where this candle, the failed 2 up ended up, kind of going up to its high. So are we at a level of potential resistance where we see a bigger drop? Now, while Neo looks incredibly bullish, it does kind of move with the market, right? So if the market tanks this coming week, I think Neo does go down, and it's going to go down hard, as history kind of tells us here. I mean, when it goes down, it doesn't just kind of go down; it goes down. So that's Neo in a nutshell. There, like I said, I'm going to be looking at both sides here, so I'm going to set an alert this way too. Crosses below. Okay. All right, so that's really it for my list. Like I said, I have 10 tickers or so. Now, I put a tweet out, and I'm so disappointed, but I put a tweet out and asked some people to chart, or asked some people for tickers, and I chart them in Coffee and Charts. I said, please retweet and let me know the ticker in your quote on your retweet. I didn't get one retweet. That's kind of a bummer. But I did get somebody that just put a comment in there. And that comment was KO. They just wanted me to chart KO, which is cool. I'm not sad or anything, unless my voice sounds sad. But oh, look, somebody says, okay, we'll check out NVIDIA here in a second. So, all right, so what are we looking at with Coke? Cola. Well, we have a 2-1 month, so inside month. Now look at the week. So we have a double inside week. Now, the concept of like the double inside means that we've had a lot of consolidation, clearly, because that's what an inside candle is all about, a one candle. So excuse me. So, well, what does that mean? So when we have a lot of consolidation, the idea is that it's explosive when it comes out of that consolidation. So our weekly trigger on this one bar is going to be 64.32, but then the price target is not actually, I've never considered the price target to be the next one up, right? Like 65.10 would be the price target, but really just due to the explosive nature of the consolidation when it happens, like we're looking at the price target here of 66.38. Now, when I'm looking at double insides here, like these might as well just be the same bar. Just try to avoid it. So, kind of, let's call it a compound one. Anyway, so I'm looking at price targets on the monthly at this point, both the upside and the downside. So 59.66 downside, 66.38 upside, just because when it does, like I said, come out of the one bar consolidation that has been going on for a couple weeks now, as it gets tighter and tighter, it gets explosive. All right, moving down to the daily, we have a 3-1. So inside day down, price target is right above entry for the 2-2 week offer at 2 up. 2-2 week. Start reading. On video. Okay, I'll look at NVIDIA here in a minute. So okay, so yeah, 3-1 on the daily. So downside play would be under 62.81, and Coke is cheap, by the way. So I'm talking about a downside play because the contracts are actually cheap. The weekly contracts, you can get it on Monday. That gives you still plenty of time for your move to come to fruition. They do move a little bit slower, but hey, guess what? Fact is, you can get a few of them with a small account, and quick profits. So 3-1 downside move to 62.81, or I'm sorry, trigger 62.81 to 62.11. So that's actually pretty solid. Coca-Cola's ATR is about $1.50 as well, so that's pretty amazing actually. So you get to, like, let's say 63, that means you could be looking at something to go to 61.50. So that's 61.50ish area here. So yeah, right there could be a daily price target, 61.59. Upside move. This is what I never like about looking at things like this. Mainly because our trigger is going to be the 63.63, but then our price target's the high of that 3, right? Very shallow, 63.74. So in events like that, I end up just saying, you know what, like, while this is a 3-1 setup, I would not actually want to get into my play until it gets over 63.74. I want to see it still go through the price target here. Do buyers still exist to be bringing it up, or are we just doing stop hunting? Right. So I'd be looking at a move, getting in on the move after 63.74, and then you get to go to the weekly, the 2 up week, the trigger, this whole thing. So yeah. Anyway, that's Coca-Cola. All right, Nvidia. Let's clear this out. Okay. All right, 2-1. Wow, that's a lot of indecision right there. Okay. Oops, wrong color. And I forgot to do all the other stuff. Left, left, on. 2 down, month, on, left, left, color. All right, so there's our monthly levels, 204 and 155.67. Our weekly levels, downside. This would be a 2-2 rev on the week, as you said. Clout culture. And then I'm just plain old 2 up. Blah. Clickety click, click, click. All right. So here's our levels. All right. So yeah, I do like the 2-2 reversal that we have here around the 181.22 area. There again is nothing about this that's telling me that we should be looking at things to be bullish. Then if you come down to the daily, I'd be probably making my Brownian formation like so. Hello. 57.8. No. Yeah, see, so now I probably need to move like the weekly. Oh wow, there's just nothing to make some dots. Breaking through a fair value gap. Yeah, I like that. I don't like that line there. I just remove lines I don't like. Okay. All right, so breaking through a fair value gap as well. I feel two. Okay, so 2-1. Let's do our daily levels now. Pretty much the process I go through with what I track. 2-1, 2 up. That's a daily one. Over here, show it on the right. This is gonna be green. And then we got our 1-2 down on the daily. Right, and make it red. Boom. Okay, so yeah, your price targets become quite shallow. So again, I mean, you could get in on this play pretty quickly, and then look for the weekly, target, the weekly trigger as your target, and then load up on more. Remember, the strat teaches us to get in on your winners and cut your losers quickly. My trade of the week, yeah, no, I could easily see why this would be your trade of the week. The daily price target is the weekly trigger. The weekly price target is almost the monthly trigger. It would be a higher high for the Brownian formation off the 4-hour. Let's see. Yep. No, this is definitely a nice little potential banger here. Only downfall. Oops, wrong one. Only downfall is actually contracts aren't all that bad for next week. The nice, there's a plug in here, a study for ATR and DTR. So on Friday, NVIDIA moved about $8.11. The average range that it moves over the course of 14 days is about $12. So if you were to get in at 185, right, like you could trade NVIDIA at $1.80, or wow, 185. So the $12 move is going to take you where? Like 160. My math is horrible, man. 168, something like that. 175 would be 10. No, 173. So, yeah, wow, I was way off. Samsonite. So anyway, so yeah, you could, I mean, you're looking at a move all the way down here, right? So if you want to look at NVIDIA contracts, you can get them kind of further out of the money. I don't generally trade this way, because I like the intrinsic value of being in the money, but I mean, some puts it down in this area. Again, 172, $175, $175 it will cost you, or $233. So not recommended if you're walking in with $500 for the week, but that's always something that's available to you. You can get a little further out of the money with the fast movers like this. Okay, so yeah, I definitely like NVIDIA. A lot of triggers that triggers here. Very cool. Anybody got anything else? Like I said, I mean, I try to keep this to about an hour. Got about 6 minutes left. More than happy to answer questions, do some more charting here. Or, hey, we can call it AMD is the sympathy play for it with similar charts. Yeah, I do like AMD. What's crazy, I was over here. If I put AMD, I kind of have them next to each other. So I would almost consider Micron, because I mean, Micron does memory and other things, but not exactly. I mean, it's still to me, it would be a semiconductor type company, but it definitely doesn't move like it. And then if you got AMD and NVIDIA here on the daily, funny how those. Yeah, they do actually move quite a bit similar. You got just Micron just blah going through. Here's the other thing about Micron. Actually, when you zoom out very quickly, I mean it's hit this area. It came down. I mean, I would fully expect it to do a 2 down trigger on the month. By the way, that's yeah. Spy for next week. Yeah. So we talked about that at the beginning. I don't know if you were in here yet. I'm bearish. Why? I mean, we have a failed 2-up on the week. It just doesn't look good. I do think that we go back down, and I think that it's going to be. I think we'll see some resist or support around the $400 range, and if we drop through that, I think we go down to the weekly trigger or the weekly price target 386. Yeah, I agree. MU and AMD are like my two favorite tickers to trade. MU Money Machine, nice. Yeah, so that's SPY, QQQ, same prediction. I mean, the candlesticks are telling us we got a reversal coming. This was just a momentary bump up to try to make everybody feel good, like a bullish market was going to come in and, end everybody's woes and worries. But I think that we aren't done yet. I think we see more movement to the downside. Just while I don't generally trade news when I talk about the markets and stuff like that, I do look at the news and hear what's going on. So, there's just nothing great. Inflation's high. People aren't, able to afford the groceries that they were able to afford a while back. I was at the gas station the other day, and a guy asked me if I could have if he could have $2 for gas, and I was like, dude, here's 10. $2 isn't going to get you a gallon. Sorry, buddy. That's all I got. I don't even usually carry cash. So, double outside day on Qs was crazy. Yeah, I know, right? Definitely crazy. And we talked about that a little bit with the consolidation. And, to me, this is actually an inverse, right? Like, a double outside day happens and you get your 1 bar, but then I do feel like it becomes an explosive move again. Just because you had so much movement. gotta have a breathe. You gotta breathe. But anyway, cool. Okay, well, what do we got? This live is awesome. It helps me keep straight with my trading. Going over the charts and looking at possible setups is just what I need. Of course, Susie Q. Always glad to help. All right. Well, guess what? We got 3 minutes left, and I won't give you 3 minutes of your Sunday morning back. We're going to call it. So, y'all, thanks for joining. Appreciate you. And definitely the comments, Clout Culture, thanks for joining. Make sure you join our Discord if you haven't already. It's free. Got the intraday strat alerts in there. Always put the link here in the description of every video that I do for the most part. So, definitely join. Always love to have people trading the strat and talking about it on a